Hello everybody and welcome into PGR eSports Live tonight with some action from the high banks of Daytona International Speedway, the world center of racing. Going to lay host to some of the Intimidator Superspeedway Series action here tonight. And joining me in the booth, Matt Metler. Good to have you back. Matt, how you feeling here tonight?
Matt, where else would you rather be? It's Thursday night in prime time with some of iRacing's.com best getting ready to tackle Talladega. I'm fired up, ready to rock and roll, man.
And just before we get down to the starting grid, give everything a quick refresh. We got a very, very stacked field here tonight. I saw some of the names in qualifying and excited to see who's going to take home the big prize here tonight. Sold out crowd again, by the way, at 45 drivers. So let's get right down trackside and get into tonight's starting grid. Taking the pole, it's going to be one of the Nightmare eSports drivers. That's Steve Korsak in the 27 machine. On his outside, Alex Hill making a return for Nightmare eSports here tonight in that number 77 Chevy Camaro. Cody Nagel starts back in third. Malik Ray to his outside in fourth. That's one of the Coke Series drivers on the outside of row 2. And then back in row 3, another one of the Coke Series drivers, Wyatt Tinsley alongside Chris Melton. Daniel Falkingham, the third Coke Series driver in the field tonight. He will start again in that 7th spot. Jeff Merck for NBG Motorsports to his outside in 8th. Wyatt Gray back in 9th. And Zachary Lima rounding out your top 10. Landon Veliky for Nightmare eSports will start back in 11th. It's going to be Garrison Hogan to his outside in 12th. Moving on back to row number 7, Kenny Reel alongside Larry McDonald with Stephen Miles, Nash Brambilla, and row number 8, Caden Diederich in 17th. Trevor Osbornoff 18th. Ryan Hennings for VRX in 19th, and Dalton Steele for the R&R boys, rounding out your top 20. Nick Seipel starts 21st, Chris Walker 22nd, Evan Carbon 23rd, with Sierra Clamperts back in the 24th spot. Moving the field down just a little bit more and back to that 25th starting spot tonight, it's Kevin Freeze in the 25 machine. Series owner Michael Triscaro starts to his outside in 26th. Chase Mistretta, James Wagner make up row 14, with Matthew Patton and Josh Gambrone rounding out your top 30. Jared Haynes, Axel Smith back in row 16. Dylan Basin and Raja Karuth, one of the real-life NASCAR drivers in the field here tonight. Those two back in row 17. Nathan Harper starts 35th. Freddie Bosnes in 36th. Back in the 37th spot, it'll be Dylan Jones alongside Andrew Zonto, with Christopher Carter in 39th and Ken McCullough Jr. rounding out the top 40. David Sheik starts 41st. William H. Scott in 42nd. Jason Maines 43rd. Connor Cunningham is in 44th. And he rounds out the field here tonight. Taking a look at your race info. The distance we're going to run here tonight, 50, make it 60 laps, a little bit longer than we've been the last couple weeks. But we are back in the next-gen cars at Daytona. This will be the car-track combo for the PGR 500. 55% fuel, 3 sets of tires with no fast repairs. Big setups as always, and 3 green-white checkers. Daytona International Speedway, 2.5 miles total in length. Track temp tonight just under 100 degrees. 80 degrees outside, 22% humidity, clear skies, and winds at 7 miles an hour. Matt, I'm ready to go. How you feeling? Who you got your pick here?
Oh, man, I gotta go with the Jack Shack driver, Osbornoff, in that 89 machine. He's gonna get it done tonight.
That's a good pick. We'll have to see how it pans out. Trevor's done it before. Who's going to do it tonight? Here we go. Pace car makes a left turn. We are ready to go green here at the World Center of Racing. The Intimidator Superspeedway Series is underway at Daytona. And lap 1 is complete here at Daytona International Speedway. And just as we go back now from the first kind of crank it up segment that we like to run on that first lap, you saw that big move there from Nagels. Looks like he will end up getting split though as Malik Ray jumps to the middle with some help from Jeff Merkin. Man, no fast repair tonight I thought would be one of the storylines, but it does not seem to affect the intensity early as they are still 3x3 down the super stretch. Nagel's going to drop back to the bottom, and he pulls 2 of his teammates with the Malik Ray, looking for a little bit of room to work. Nothing doing just yet. Meanwhile, on the high side, how about Wyatt Tinsley trying to lead the charge in that number 20 machine?
in that number 20 machine. We are fast and furious here at Daytona. Speeds over 200 miles an hour. You said no fast repair. These drivers say no problem. They're going to keep it dialed up to 100. Malik Ray already making big moves as he's challenging for the lead on that bottom lane. We got problems. Multiple cars involved here. That's going to throw the first caution flag for incident just as it started getting good up near the front there. And something, what a miss. Looked like about that, perhaps that 10th or 11th place position. So we're going to have to go back here to the PGR instant replay. But, oh, God, one of the best-looking cars on that racetrack, the 74 involved. He's got some damage there to the front. The 3 machine going to be off the pace there as well as Austin, man, the proverbial big one tries to uncork itself here early as we're just a couple laps into this thing.
Yeah, and really it must have happened further back. It initially looked like the caution was for the trouble up front with Cody Nagels. I thought maybe it was a little bit of a pre-thrown caution. I mean, you know, usually, Matt, when we see somebody get loose up front, it turns into a big wreck. Thought maybe race control was playing it safe, but on second look here, that may have not been the case. This was the trouble that actually got reported, which was further back. Let's see if this is a result, though, of that incident further up. So we're going to actually go to one of the chase cams here so you can see kind of a view of what these drivers had from back here. And watches, oh, so there you go. There is going to be some trouble that starts a little bit further up here. And who is that with? The first car involved. You see up front, Nagels has an issue kind of at the exact same time. That's what made this wreck so interesting. But it looks like it's actually going to be Brian Hennings who gets tangled up with, I can't tell exactly who that is from this view. Once we get a better angle, we'll have it sorted out for you here. And that's a pretty big hit for both of those cars. In fact, if we go back to the chase cam there, that's Larry McDonald that Brian Henning gets together with. Larry was running a special paint scheme here tonight. We were looking forward to showing that, but not this soon and not in this way. Larry McDonald, pretty heavy hit into that outside safer barrier. We'll give you another look at this, though, first and sort out exactly what started this contact here. So I'll tell you what it looks to me like, Matt. You see Brian Hennings on the outside right there. And again, there was a little bit of checking up out front. And then watch as it gets back here. Just a little bit of a stack up. But then the 24, Caden Dieterich is going to get into the back of Brian Hennings. That shoots him down the track. A little bit of net code gets him into Larry McDonald. And then looks like it's on from there.
Yeah, it's on from there. I mean, look at McDonald almost goes up and over. In fact, he's going EI. Oh, no, as he's pointed, I mean, literally perpendicular into that safer barrier. And then one of the best-looking cars out there on the racetrack tonight in that 74 machine Hennings, that front of that Camaro, all torn up. And to your point, Austin, I thought it initially kicked off near the front of the field, too, as well. But as we say, or I say oftentimes, it's not where the fuse gets lit, it's where the bomb goes off. And, I mean, right back to the replay, you can see the 6 is way out of shape here.
Yeah, that's Cody Nagels, and I think what got him out of shape was just a little bit of an offset push. You see from that angle, his teammate Steve Korsak has him offset a little bit right. Maybe some contact with Malik Ray as well. Either way, Cody's going to save it here. A little bit of damage there to the right rear and the right front, but I think he's okay overall. It's going to be everybody else here that's going to take the brunt of this one as watch as they come into view here. Sierra Clamper, another one of the drivers that took a pretty big shot here, kind of in the secondary portion of this wreck. Not sure if she was able to get it sorted out after that point or not. We'll have to actually go back and get a look from her onboard view. That's a tough break. Sierra Clamper, of course, one of the fan favorites, but this certainly an odd wreck to kick things off, Matt. I feel like it certainly sets the tone for what to expect later in the race. As you see Sierra Clamper starts to save it, and then, oh, right there. Matthew Patton just not quite able to avoid that incident. Sierra Clamper wasn't, at least. I'll give you two more angles of this. Go ahead.
This racetrack here gives you that false sense of security, as you saw on board there. Thought they were through the storm, and that just gets walloped there. Took a race car to the face. And, you know, Austin, one of the takeaways, this could have been a lot bigger. I mean, that was a heck of a piece of driving there by the 6 up front, the way that he was able to kind of reel in that race car. A lot of drivers had great situational awareness out there, you know, to find a way to get out of this. I mean, if you go further on back here, you see the 80 up into the fence. The 3 is going to get hit not once but twice as he comes back down the banking. Some of these drivers escaping in the flatlands, if you will. But, I mean, that should have been a catastrophe out here on the racetrack. Plate racing, when you have something that pops near the front of the field like that, usually that's going to wad up a lot of race cars. But these drivers just doing a great job just staying or doing what they needed to do to stay out of harm's way here. Some of these guys are going to have their work cut out for them, but I think the big takeaway here, Austin, this could have been a lot worse than what it was.
Yeah, I want to go back to one more view here that I was actually looking at while you were talking about, and this is James Wagner. Watch the job he does to sneak through this mess. Goes to the middle, shoots by the cars on the outside, avoids any contact on the inside, makes it through untouched. Nice job right there by James Wagner and the rest of the crew behind him to make sure that they kept it from any further damage in that first incident. So first caution of the night just about wrapped up as we get ready to get back to green flag racing. 6 of 60 laps complete here at the World Center of Racing. Michael Triscaro leads the way. Second, Axel Smith up 30 spots from where he started this race at. Heck, Triscaro's up 25 himself. Andrew Zonto's up 35. He's in third. And then the drivers that may have went in for some fuel here, Malik Ray sitting again in that third to fourth spot. Wyatt Gray back in fifth. Jeff Merkin sixth. In the seventh spot right now, you've got Alex Hill, Steve Korsak in eighth, Daniel Falkingham in ninth, and Landon Velicki rounding out your top 10. By the way, we did make a couple adjustments to the overlay. Again, just working on a few things that we might utilize during the PGR 500. One of them was we were trying to change the transition screen just a little bit to more so kind of cover the whole screen instead of half the screen. So let me know if you like the replay transition screen better now the way it is, or if you like the old one better. Certainly that feedback helps us out. And with that, here we go. Still have a chance at least one green flag pit stop, probably right around lap 20, maybe a little bit longer. I think it's still arguably in the ballpark for 2 stops. Let's see if we can get some green flag laps in. This green flag is now back in the air. Good restart for the 34, Michael Triscaro. He will lead the field back to green with 7 laps complete. Malik Ray on the high side, along with the 71 machine. Both cars trying to get a run. The 2 on the outside, that is Wyatt Gray. Again, we have talked about him a couple times, and I'm telling you, Wyatt Gray, this is a guy you're going to have to watch here, Matt. I mean, he continues to get better and better each race that we see him in. Don't believe he runs with any teammates, and for a guy that doesn't have any teammates to be this up front and this consistent, he's going to be a threat, especially in the PGR 500. Now up the middle. Watch out. Here comes the 20 machine, Wyatt Tinsley. He's got a little help now from the 11 of Kenny Reel. Here comes the 23 of Nash Miller. They both leave the 97 of Axel Smith on the bottom, but as they drop down, they're going to have to wait for some help. Those 2 cars tandeming up. Will it be enough to get to the front?
Oh, enough to get to the front is that 47 machine gets jousted off the racetrack. He gets it back up, and he checks up the field on the bottom lane. Back up front, it's hot and heavy as Michael Triscaro still continues to carry the torch. In Austin, he has a great dancing partner behind him in Malik Ray. But how about Kenny Reel vibing, doing all the heavy lifting, pushing that 20 machine out to the point? Wyatt Tinsley carries the torch here for the first time at Daytona, as suddenly the high lane has all the mojo here into Earnhardt country.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I was a little skeptical about how far that 2-car tandem would go, and they went all the way to the front. Proved me wrong in a hurry, and Wyatt Tinsley, no surprise out here, looking like a pro right now in that 20 machine as he continues to try to stay aggressive, and it has him up front leading the field.
Big time problems, not to cut you off there, Austin. Multiple cars involved. Someone got hit, checked. The 7 there is going to stop up near the fence. Oh, a little
secondary hit right there after the fact. Yeah, good call, Matt. Didn't see it initially. That's Christopher Carter, Chase Mastretta. It looked like the 7 as well of Jared Haynes, who's trying to get back rolling. He does, but anytime you see a car crab walking like that, that is not a good sign. He's got some sort of major suspension damage in the rear suspension of that race car, and you might get a little look of it here as he works his way by the start-finish line, although it looks like from that view, yeah, certainly that right front has some damage. Got to think that the left rear may be knocked out of line as well. That thing is struggling to get back, and this is going to be a long road to recovery here for Jared Haynes if he can make it back out on the racetrack. No fast repair here tonight, so he'll have to go get that fixed manually. But second caution here early. Let's go back and look at it. Matt, you called it out. What'd you see here?
Going back here to the PGR instant replay. Right there is where it's going to pop off. That, I believe it was a 33 for some reason, just turned down the racetrack off the wall there. And multiple cars are going to get caught up in it. You know, Austin, things happen here at the blink of an eye. Sometimes, you know, you don't even realize you're in it until it's, you know, unfolding around you. And then the 7 there is going to get a second shot there. And again, here as we go up to the blimp cam, we're going to have to widen this back VHS mode as we cue the playback. The 7's going to come up the racetrack a little bit. I think the 33 was coming down. Talladega things happened here, and this is what's going to set it off. a multiple car incident. The 24 is going to be involved in it there as well. And the 7's going to take another shot here. These drivers just trying to jump on the binders, just couldn't get it low down in time. And that Camaro on the high side of the racetrack is going to administer that second shot as we now go on board. I believe this is with, pardon me one moment here, folks, Jared Haynes in the 3.
And it's just really tight quarters. And I think I heard you mention Talladega as you were talking there, Matt. And speaking of Talladega, that track obviously about a lane wider than what we work with here at Daytona. And part of that may have been the problem there. It's just not really enough room for everybody as they're pushing and shoving, trying to make gaps. And this is Sarah Clampert and Jared Haynes who first get together. And again, I'll show you that view again, kind of from the chopper view, but a little bit of a different angle. There may have been just a little bit of left, rear, right, front neck code off of these two that sparked this kind of turning of the 33 car down the racetrack that you mentioned, because I did see it. And watch right here. So Jared Haynes is going to get a bit of a run in the middle. Sierra tries to go up top. There's a bit of a checkup. In fact, you actually see the fire out of the pipes. That's what gets Sierra checked up in the first place. And then it looks like from that view, it's a little bit more of Jared creeping up. It doesn't really look like Sierra moves down too much in that angle, but I don't think Jared actually hits her. I think they get clipped by a little bit of netcode with how close they got. And as you mentioned, Matt, it sets it off. And when things happen as quick as they do here at a track like Daytona, sometimes it's tough to just get on the brakes and stop. And for Christopher Carter here, got a wall of smoke ahead of him. And by the time he sees Jared Haynes, kind of like a deer in the headlights, just fortunately not able to stop anytime soon.
Yeah, it's like a scene out of Days of Thunder. All the tire smoke there on the racetrack. You just can't see anything until it's right in front of you. And you can see, try to jump on the binders there. Just could not get low down in time. As that race car takes a second decent shot out there on the racetrack. And, you know, to your, what I was saying about Talladega, that racetrack, these tracks are a lot alike. However, you have more real estate to work with. That track is wider, and you just don't have the luxury of that here at Talladega, or at Daytona, excuse me. Now you got me overthinking up here in the broadcast booth next to you. Is that iRacing.com pace car leads the field here once again. The World Center of Speed right here in Daytona, USA. Can anyone dethrone Cody Nichols? I mean, this guy has been on fire since the drop of the green flag. And you know what, Austin? He's going to have to re-rack him, restack him, do it all over again here. Is Wyatt Tinsley, Wyatt Gray, Kenny Reel, Landon Velicki round out the top 5. And he has some fierce competition right on his quarters.
Yeah, this is still kind of that point in the race where nobody's really had a chance to settle their nerves just yet, because we haven't, clicked off enough green flag laps to really get in that rhythm. But nonetheless, some early notes here after a couple of early wrecks. Connor Cunningham not being scored in the field. Not sure what his issue was. Neither is Freddie Bosnez. Those two initially were credited to start the race, but again, are not out on track right now. Jason Main's the last car on track. He's trying to catch the field as he currently sits back in that 42nd spot. Jared Haynes still in the pits. Christopher Carter made it back out, and really, Matt, this car looking a lot cleaner than I thought it would for that contact that he had, of course, with the 7 of Jared Haynes there when he kind of T-boned him during that last caution. Josh Gambron in the 24 and 39th. Brian Hennings 38th. Dylan Basin has now disappeared for the moment. Larry McDonald, Nick Seipel, the last two cars trying to catch the field. Ken McCullough Jr. currently rounding out the field. But as we do go back up front and ready to get back to green flag racing this time, it'll be 12 laps complete when we grab the green flag. And so again, this still keeps us, I believe, in that window of 2 pit stops to make it to the finish. If you can make it, figure 22-22. It's going to be pretty close, but we'll have to see how this thing pans out. Either way, though, I don't know. Right now, I think if I'm in the top 10, I'm staying aggressive. But if I'm outside the top 10, I take this a little bit easy, try to drop back a few spots, just ride around a little bit. But either way, we're going to have to see what happens. All right, here we go. Lights on the pace car are off. Back into the Geico restart zone we go. Green flag is back in the air at Daytona, and it's a good restart for the inside. Cody Nichols gets the better jump. Kenny Reel will follow as they both immediately jump up to the top. They'll pick up the 20 of Wyatt Tinsley, the 71. Looking for a big push there. Wyatt Gray actually caused a little bit of a stack up there. I'm not sure if he missed a gear or just got a bit of an offset shove from behind. Either way, now look at the bottom roll. Malik Gray is going to pull Alex Hill clear. Can they bring Jeff Merck as well? Yes, they can. Merck not quite enough to slot up in line. He thought about it. Now he's going to have to go back to the bottom. Will they split him? No, they don't. They're going to stick with the 60. That'll stack up the bottom, but now that they're together, watch this run that Jeff Merck and Velicki are going to get on the bottom through 3 and 4.
Merck and Veliky rocking the bottom downstairs through 3 and 4s. They're trying to get that head of steam rolling on the bottom lane. They're going to pull almost alongside the 77 of Alec Hill as it's a John Force drag race being led by Malik Ray. As it's starting by side of the start-finish line, I believe Merck's going to lead that lap by less than a thousandth of a second as he's getting the business right now from Landon Veliky, who was pushing him through the heavens as we're now 3 wide just behind the leader.
We got trouble further back. Caution is out. Whoa,
Oh, gee. Oh, my God.
Big hit right there at the last second as we had one car sliding back up. Trying to figure out who that was that hit him. I think it was Ken McCullough Jr. We'll confirm here if we can see some damage. And yeah, that's going to confirm that right there. Big damage to the front of Ken McCullough Jr. and his Chevy Camaro. And man, that's a tough break to start the race. But I mean, all these cautions, it seems like a couple of them now, in fact, all 3 have been towards the back half of the pack here, Matt. Wonder if it's just the aggression of guys that are in the back trying to get to the front. This was kind of where I went back to that mindset of if you're in the back, maybe just chill out right now, let things pan out. But it seems like they don't want it to go that way. As see Dieterich there, maybe one of the first cars that got spun around in this. So we'll see as we go back here to the PGR replay. Look for Cade Dieterich here first. That's the first car that, again, I initially saw go sideways. That's who we're searching for here at the moment. And all right, so here we go. Let's watch this first here from the chopper view. And for Dieterich, if we back this up, what gets him initially out of line? Ooh, it's going to start on the outside. All right, so you're going to have basically a couple cars stack up here. On the outside, that's the 49 of Chris Melton. And I'm trying to figure out, is that the 89 of Trevor Oswernoth that he's getting pushed by? Or is it somebody else rocking the 89? Nope, looks like it is indeed Trevor Oswernoth. And they've got a big run here. They're trying to line up the 46 for a push, and just maybe a little too much pushing and shoving right there. When they got there, Chris was trying to figure out exactly where to go with the run. In the process, ends up getting himself a little sideways here, and by the time he gets to the 46, I don't know if he ever really makes it there. Just kind of stacks up. Melton gets turned sideways into the outside wall. He goes. That sends the 46 machine down the track. He's going to get into the 24 of Cade Dieterich. By the way, that was William H. Scott Jr. in the 46 car. And as he goes into the outside wall, now the chaos is on. You got a couple sliding down low, and then just a couple of them slide back up. You see the 80 of Larry McDonald. He was able to keep it together there, even though he did go for a bit of a ride through the grass. Although, man, you see major rear suspension damage there on Larry's car. What in the world happened here? Where did Larry take this big shot at to give him all that rear damage? He already had it at this point. Watch this here for the 80. This is an odd look. So he's behind the wreck. Melton starts coming down. Larry takes an evasive maneuver to miss it. And he gets hit, but, man, I'm surprised to see it do that much damage to that right rear. I mean, look at it. Just snaps right off. Now it's just wobbling around.
Those points of this this race car here, tend to be some of the weak spots on this race car. And you're right, Austin. I mean, it didn't seem like that was that much of an impact to do that type of damage there. But as I like to say, he's got Bluetooth suspension now, as that right rear tire is basically holding on by a thread. And I think this, to your point, this wreck, kicks off, just a very rare mistake here. You cannot push the pusher. And again, these drivers north of 200 miles an hour, Chris Melton unfortunately was the meat in the sandwich there, and he got sent out of the hot dog bun there, and just bad things happen after that. And unfortunately, McDonald's getting mentioned for all the wrong reasons here early in this one, as he just does not have any luck on his side right now.
Doesn't at all. And this is Nick Seipel, by the way, who initially looked like he was clear through it, but right there, look at that air time he gets. And that prevents him from slowing down and then shoots him back up the track. That's a tough break for both him and Ken McCullough Jr., who initially were going to get through this wreck unscathed. Not anymore, not after that hit.
Yeah, I mean, as a race car driver, especially here at Daytona, when you're taking a ride through the grass and you're going to slide back. I mean, look at the air time on the 75. And he knows he's coming back up the racetrack, and he's probably going to get absolutely snookered. And that is the most helpless feeling for a race car driver. Those moments like that, knowing that you're going to come back up into traffic and potentially ruin someone's evening, but there's just nothing you can do about it. And it's a lose-lose all the way around, as we've already had, three incidents here early, and we haven't even cracked 20 laps into this thing.
Yep, chaos early seems to be a common theme when you come to these giant super speedways. Daytona International Speedway is no exception. But again, this is a good chance for everybody to get practice, because this will be the car and track combo that we see featured in the PGR 500, which continues to get closer and closer. So make sure that you all check that out. And again, if you're interested in racing or watching and you need any more details, you can go check it out on PGResports.com. Just look it up on Google, or feel free to join the Discord. We have that in the description of this video. I believe already have a pretty good amount of entries coming in. They might have been somewhere just shy of a quarter of the entries already projected in, and we're still, again, over a month away at this point, so plenty of time to get your entries in. Looking forward to it. We're going to see some recruitment races going up here shortly, and those are, again, another way to get in if you're looking for a bit of a cheaper way to do so. But man, I mean, overall, we're expecting a lot of good things from that, and I do want to give a shout out to everybody that we're seeing in the chat here tonight. Scott Kazan, Devin Ray, good to see you guys in here. RF5935, Roughneck Racing, good to see you in here. Heath Job, Denny Barnes, looks like we have a couple others in here. So earlier, Heath Job says Raja saying he's going to throw a sponsor PGR's way. Bring it. If you want it, that's not just for Raja, that's for anybody. The PGR 500 has already locked up a title sponsor, along with the VRX Duels. So VRX sponsoring the second main event, but an associate sponsorship is still up for grabs, along with LCQ and Heat sponsorships. So make sure you check those out. All right, here we go. Time to get back to green flag racing. Can we try to make it happen here? Some green flag laps. Can we maybe still have an opportunity to get a green flag stop? There's still the amount of laps needed to do so. We just got to find the rhythm. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. 17 of 60 laps complete at Daytona. And it's a good restart for that high lane. The 11 of Kenny Reel immediately getting together with the 20 here of Wyatt Tinsley. And I believe those two, I don't know if they're working together officially here tonight, Matt, but the chemistry's been there early. That part's for sure, as we saw Wagner with a big moment. In fact, actually, that was the 41 of Dalton Steele, one of the other green, black, and white R&R Racing teammates that had a big moment there through 1 and 2. He holds on. Now he'll look for a spot up in line. Already 3 wide. Korosek going to make the move all the way to the high lane. Nagel's trying to organize up there as well. And it's Landon Veliky who's going all the way to the back right now, stuck in the middle with no help.
Yeah, he is stuck in the sucker hole, going back quick, fast, and in a hurry. But at the high side of the racetrack, Kenny Reel has got it dialed up. And we got cars spinning around again. The 23 backwards, almost up and over. Multiple cars taking evasive action, going through the grass. Holy, oh. Austin, I am telling you, these drivers, the sense of urgency has just been dialed up to 1,000 since the drop of the green flag. You're absolutely right. If you're further near the back, exercise some patience right now. I mean, you cannot win this race on lap 1. And the over-aggressiveness out there right now just seems to be plaguing the early going of this race, as the 23 here really got used and abused. You see some damage there to the front valence on that Dark Horse Mustang. Looks to be a little bit of right rear damage there as well. So we go back to the PGR instant replay. Here's how it unfolded.
Oh, wow. There was trouble further back there. We didn't even notice that initially. And, man, this has been just a mess so far here tonight. So this first ordeal here is going to start back with Veliky. Let's see if they hold on. It's going to be Veliky, and then I think that's the 55. I'm not sure. That might be Caruth in that 55 paint scheme. We'll get a better shot here to confirm that in just a moment. Let's see here. If they start to catch up, and that is not Caruth, by the way. That is actually Hogan. And again, a couple of new names here tonight. Hogan, I don't know if this is officially his first start or one of his first few, but either way, that's Garrison Hogan, a very talented iRacing driver nonetheless, especially when it comes to the super speedway side of things. And is this just a little bit of a bad push? I don't know. Veliky, I think he's going to try to slot in line here, a gap that may not have exactly quite been there. And the problem is the gap's there, but the run is so massive out back that by the time Landon gets down there, now the 55's there. Landon doesn't quite get it down all the way in time. Garrison, I mean, he doesn't have to cut him a break, and he feels like, no, man, if you're going to go, you got to go. If not, I'm not lifting. And once the 55 gets him starting to turn around, Veliky, does he save this? Boy, well, he almost does. That second spin there is finally going to spin him all the way around, as you see the one machine trying to sneak by as well. It's been a mess so far. I mean, how else do you put it? But Stephen Miles, overall, a good save. Veliky, he is going to haul without any damage, and that was probably for the best because, Matt, what we, of course, saw was the wreck up here with Nash Brambilla as they started to spin. What'd you see here?
We'll go back here to the replay once again. You see that Dark Horse Mustang, the 23, working the bottom lane, and he's just going to get side-checked here. It looks by the 57.
I think that's Axel Smith in the 97, yep.
Yeah, Axel Smith just comes down and door checks him, and I just don't think he realized that the 23 was, you know, there, or perhaps just kind of lost a sense of where he was relative to his race car. But nonetheless, they make contact, sends Nash for a wild ride here.
Man, look at everybody scatter. Man, you see the dirt getting thrown everywhere. They're all trying to miss it. I don't know how they did. But man, that could have been a whole lot worse. We did have a couple of other cars with an incident up here. Dieterich was one of them. I'm not sure if he ever made contact or not. We'll have to go back and get another angle of it. But, I mean, Matt, for what that could have been, I mean, 2 wrecks in the middle of the pack and ended up only collecting here, you know, maybe 2 or 3 cars with only 1 or 2 that actually have damage. That could have certainly been a whole lot worse, as you see Dieterich here trying to shoot the gap, Days of Thunder style, and it works out for a while, but then eventually gets together right there with Carl Bond. They both go for a slide. Dieterich lets it roll, and right there, if he keeps it locked down a little longer, probably saves himself some damage, but overall, don't think it's too bad.
Yeah, that car still seems to be driving straight in that ZL1 Camaro, and kind of like both these incidents is kind of almost kicked off simultaneously. And in the case of the 62, I mean, he was hemorrhaging positions. He got stuck in the middle. He was going to the back, and he saw a little hole there on the bottom lane, and he went to throw it down there, and he hesitated a little bit. And, you know, restrictor plate racing, excuse me, you hesitate that little bit, and that's typically when bad things happen out there on the racetrack. Still a heck of a piece of driving, though. You know, some of these drivers out here in this field each and every Thursday night, some of the best saves I see on a week-to-week basis, or the way that they're just able to avoid wrecks out there on the racetrack, just incredible. And they're putting it on display here once again, as we're now officially 20 laps on the board. We're going to have to re-rack them, restack them, do it all over again. As Steve Korzik, Axel Hill, Cody Neggles, Garrison Hogan, and Malik Ray round out the top 5.
I agree, and the reason the wreck avoidance is so good, Matt, is because they've had a lot of practice so far here tonight. I mean, we cannot seem to get in a rhythm of green flag racing, at least not yet. And again, we know it's kind of a byproduct of this car, but I mean, sooner or later, you just think these guys would get fed up, I reckon, and everybody would chill out a little bit. But that has not been the case just yet. Either way, though, I mean, you look back, and right there, Heath Job giving us a brief update. Veliky credited for that first incident. The 97 Axel Smith credited with the second incident that ultimately, I believe, led to the caution. So again, that is a drive-through penalty for both of those drivers. But either way, as we get ready to get back to green flag racing, all these cautions have now eliminated the possibility of a second green flag stop in this race. We still could see one, probably right around lap 40, maybe a couple laps after. Again, that would be if we can get to that point. We're getting ready to see if they can maybe make it happen this time. Steve Korsak, Alex Hill, 2 teammates on the front row. They're going to have Cody Neggles, the 3rd teammate in row 2 with Garrison Hogan, Malik Ray, Kenny Reel back in row 3. iRacing.com pace car pulls off. Back into the restart zone we go. Green flag back in the air at Daytona, and it's a great restart for the 27 of Steve Korsak. They timed it up perfect. They're going to bring Neggles and Alex Hill up. Neggles quickly, though, back to the bottom of the racetrack. He's going to try to fend off the 7 of Malik Ray for as long as he can. Watch for Malik to split. He's been doing that a lot in these next-gen cars. He's been able to make it work as, whoa, big checkup up top. Watch out now. Cody's trying to block Malik. This is where you got to be careful. Neggles going to go back up. Malik's going to look a lane higher. Now Malik's going to sneak it to the outside. Neggles will go back low. 3 wide down the super stretch. Now Malik's going to go back to the middle. They're going to get 3 cars clear by the time they get to turn 3. Who's going to get to the bottom first? Looks like Malik's thinking about it, but he'll stay up top at the moment.
Malik stays up top at the moment as that 23 Jordan-inspired machine is stuck in the middle lane as we are almost 3 wide coming through the tri-oval. That 6 being pinned down to the bottom there. A little bit of breathing room right at this section of the racetrack. That's 11th, 12th, and 13th. Right in the hornet's nest right now is Kenny Reel, now up 6 positions, just back inside the top 10 now is Austin. This is where it looks like it's getting ready to uncork once again here. Multiple cars scrubbing the wall there, coming off the corner as we fire down the backstretch. Now go on board with the 71 machine, who's up 27 positions, giving the big-time push there, working the bottom lane to Malik Ray.
That's Rajah Caruth. We've seen him in a couple Podium 500s. He knows how to run this car. He runs the truck series in real life, and man, right now he is showing out, but man, big moves. Oh my goodness. Triscaro is all over the place trying to figure out which lane he wants to go with. We saw a couple of guys doing the same thing up front, and speaking of Triscaro, he's actually one of the drivers that is carrying an onboard view for us here tonight. We'll get back to him here in just a couple laps if everybody can keep this clean, but man, as they're going right now, Matt, I am sitting here nervous, holding my breath just up here watching the booth. They can't keep doing this for another 5 or 10 laps or so. We may not make it to that next green flag pit stop.
I might not make it to the next green flag pit stop. Did you see that move by Michael Triscaro? Looking like Dale Earnhardt out there in the late 90s, early 2000s. He swung it line, jumped it back down to the basement, and back up to the top of the fishbowl again. You're not supposed to be able to do that at Daytona. And with all that's going on, Tinsley just put down the fastest lap of the race of 45.11. All of this going on at speeds of over 200 miles an hour. Now we're 3 wide as we go now on board with Jeff Mark, who currently runs in that 14th place position.
And Jeff Merck having a good run. Those were our 2 onboard views here tonight. Meanwhile, up front, Garrison Hogan now going to go to the point. Chris Walker to his outside for the Jack Shack. Actually, Chris Walker doing the pushing right now is, whoa, watch out, one on the bottom there. That was the 71 of Wyatt Gray. Was able to catch it, gets back up in line, no further issues there. And now on the outside, you start to get some organization. Rajah Caruth going to drop down. He's looking for a bit of a side draft on the 71 of Wyatt Gray. That 2-car tandem on the bottom has been broken up. They're going to fade as now the middle starts to get some get back. Meanwhile, up top, they still surge. Alex Hill now drops down in front of the 48 machine. And this is a big move. Daniel Falkingham in that 48. That is a teammate to the 77 of Alex Hill. Will they have enough momentum here with just these 2 cars to get up to their 3rd teammate, Cody Nagels? Yes, they will. Watch out. The bottom's got some momentum. Now they work onto the super stretch side by side for 2nd. But up front, it is still Garrison Hogan. And meanwhile, in the middle of the pack, it's a scramble. They are stacked up about 4 cars deep, pushing. As Michael Triscaro, he told us he really wanted to win this one. He felt like he had a good shot at it. And he's trying to go out and do it right now, but still a long ways to go, as we are not even halfway through this 150-mile event tonight.
Big time moves from Cody Nagels, trying to maintain the lead here, and does, as he gets some help from the bottom, tends it up to the high side. Now works with Garrison Hogan in that 2nd place position. And Austin, you mentioned that bottom lane. As soon as it seemed like they had some momentum going, that lane dissipates, and we are 3 wide back around that 15th place position once again, as we're single file about the first 5-6 cars out ripping the high side of the racetrack.
Yeah, and I'm looking back here at some of these cars that are kind of fading off the pack, and I think a couple of them may have a little damage, and also a mixture of cars that really just want to stay out of this chaos for a little bit, see if these guys can keep it together. Here's a little 4-car group. Sarah Clamper, Jared Haynes, Matthew Patton, and Dalton Steele all work together. Just behind them, Jason Maines, Ken McCullough Jr., along with Nick Seipel, Josh Gambron back by himself, Chris Melton a little bit further behind, then Dylan Basin. He's tied up right now with Brian Hennings and Nash Brambilla. Axel Smith and Veliky working together after they had to serve their penalty. They're going to be the first 2 cars in danger of going a lap down, but they still have some time before they will be at that point. As up front, still 2x2 for about the first 4 to 5 rows. Nagels with a push from Hogan on the outside, but it's the inside that surges out in front. 2 big moves to the top. Whoa, not clear. The 20 makes the move. Alex Hill's going to go around. Cody back into the field. This might be the big one down the super stretch. Can they all hold on to it? They don't. Nagels gets damage. Couple others involved, but it was not the big one. It could have been a whole lot worse. Dalton Steele locks it down right there to miss it. That looked like a case of the not clear to me. I don't know what you saw, Matt, but man, that was a big one at the front of the field, and you knew that was going to be ugly. I think we kind of got away with it there from what it looked like it was initially going to be.
You know, Austin, I can't believe what I just seen there. I mean, we're working lap 27 out of a 60-lap event. You know, these drivers, as you mentioned, they get a lot of practice doing this. They should know you cannot continue to drive like that and expect to have a car to make it across the finish line in one piece when the checkered flag flies. You know, Michael Triscaro, he's hotter than a Keebler elf that got the motor to fudge packer right now, and for all the right reasons. I mean, these are some of the best guys in the business, and I just can't believe the way that they're racing, especially near the front of the race right now. Yes, from a broadcast perspective, it is absolute gold. I mean, I love this kind of racing, but the other side of me, I'm seeing these other drivers get caught up in these incidents out here tonight, just taking their chances away each and every time that caution flag comes out. And it's really starting to just strike a chord with me as we take a look at this one again. Just big-time aggressive pushing up near the front. It all goes wrong, and unfortunately, someone's got to pay. As we watch this here again, the 55 is going to give a big-time push here to Nichols. But he's going to try to use it. He didn't want to lose it.
And the 77 of Alex Hill gets there, and that's kind of the goal that they had right there, if I had to assume, because they are two teammates. But then Tinsley tries to cover, and I mean, I don't think I missed anything here. Tinsley just not clear. I don't know if it was just a misjudgment, I'm just not sure. I mean, it was a really, really quick move from Alex Hill, but I mean, Tinsley takes him all the way to the wall on a block and still wasn't quite clear. Just, again, I mean, I don't really know what to say about it besides just not clear and maybe a little too early for that much aggression. There's no money on the line for leading lap, whatever we're on, but certainly would think so with the way some of these guys continue to go at it. You know, if it's the last lap, I get that move. I get that you got to try it. I mean, Tinsley, obviously, if he's in that spot on the last lap and he doesn't try that, he might be going to the back. But just at this point, and you know, Tinsley gets away with it, so he's probably okay here. But you kind of ask yourself, was it really worth that aggression? And I'm sure the guys here in the middle of the pack are going to be asking the same thing. A lot of them did miss it, though. That's the good news. Unfortunately for James Wagner, he gets a tough break there as he's going to get some pretty heavy damage with some contact there. Multiple others involved. And this one going to potentially take out a few more cars from what we've already had kind of tally up with damage here tonight.
Can we go on board here now? You can see the smoke pop off here in front of James Wagner in the 30. By the time he even gets a glimpse of the racetrack, he has a car coming across his nose, makes contact, takes it all the way down to the flatlands here off the surface, off the racing surface, excuse me. Go on, I mean, watch this at speed.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, Matt. I was going to say, this is actually a really good view for this incident right here. Watch it back from this view. There's the block. And I mean, look how close they are. They, in fact, get into the wall before the block even fully finishes itself, I guess would be the best way to put it. And in the turn 3 view, you see the field fly apart here down the super stretch just to miss it. They all do so, but one car down by the inside wall, I believe that was where Alex Hill ultimately ended up. And that's good news for him, though, because he didn't actually hit anything. So if he didn't have any suspension damage like his teammate Cody Nagels, then he should be good to continue. All right, back up front we go. Nagels did make it back out, but looks like he still has some major suspension damage that he's going to have to get worked on that race car. Well, we did officially make it now to the halfway point in this 60-lap, 150-mile event. Now you've got the 48 of Daniel Falkingham going to lead on the inside with the 71 of Wyatt Gray on the outside. Kenny Reel, Jeff Merck back in row 2. Michael Triscaro, Zachary Lima, row 3. Mastretta and Raja Karuth in row 4 with Steve Korsak and Nathan Harper rounding out your top 10. And now we still have that opportunity for a green flag pit stop. And Matt, I kind of want to open up the strategy talks here a little bit. Normally, I feel like we would never even consider this as an option, but with how many wrecks we've seen tonight, do you consider pitting as soon as this fuel window opens with 2 to 4, in fact, maybe even 3 to 5 teammates if you've got them, just to get out of all this chaos?
Absolutely, 100%. You got to put yourself in some type of window of safety, and not that you really have those here at Daytona or Talladega, but you have to do something here to change, to just put yourself in a different position out there on the racetrack. You're not going to survive if you're constantly out there in the trenches, World War II style out here, taking shots, to the face, or for anyone else that's, in the field right now. You got to do something on the strategy side of things, to your point, to do something to give yourself a chance to finish this race cleanly. But then again, who knows? They could go on a green flag run here from here on out, and everything we're talking about right now, you crumple it and throw it out the window. That's just the beauty of restrictor plate racing. You just don't know what's going to happen around the next corner.
Completely agree, but we're getting ready to find out. Pace car going to make that left turn, and that means that we will try it yet again. Here comes Falkingham and Wyatt Gray up into the Geico restart zone halfway through the Intimidator Superspeedway Series action here tonight at Daytona. Green flag is back in the air. 31 of 60 laps complete, and it's a good restart for both cars on the front row. Not as much organization on the outside. Lima will take advantage of that as he quickly works his way up to the high side of the racetrack. Mistretta going to tag up with the 11 of Kenny Reel and the 48 of Daniel Falkingham. They will now roll the bottom. Kenny Reel, look at the tandem. He's going to get the 48 clear. Can Falkingham pull him up as well? Yes, he does. They're going to leave Mistretta out on the bottom, but that's okay because here comes Korsek with a big run further back. Now, Matt, what you did get from that last wreck is a lot of big names shuffled to the back that are going to have to make it back to the front. Keep an eye, watch out for guys like Malik Ray. If Cody Nagels gets that damage fix, more importantly, Alex Hill to try to get back to the front. Here comes Rajah Caruth and Harper through the middle. Triscaro gets left out. Lima with a big save off of 4. And man, they are still jockeying as the front 4 start to single file out.
They start to single file out as Falkingham continues to lead here with getting big-time help and support from Kenny Reel, who Austin has been driving a fantastic race thus far. He is right where he wants to be, large and in charge here as everyone continues to chase Daniel Falkingham. Also got to shout out that driver who's up 29 positions in that 6th place position. Nathan Harper, a driver that I've spent time with on the racetrack, part of Kaiji Cat Motorsports. He's out there having a fantastic run this evening as he's working with the 71 there as they work that middle lane on the charge, trying to come to the front.
That's Rajah Caruth he's working with. And man, I've been watching just a row back. Zachary Lima has been getting a lot of pushes, and he's able to handle them all, but it just seems like his car's looked a little bit upset with some of the pushes he's been getting here. You got to be nice and smooth on the pushes if you want to make progress. As we'll watch this. Oh, that's going to get really tight as they go into the corner. Kevin Freeze trying to force the issue up the middle. Trevor Ozranoff pinching him there as they got into the corner. They'll now spread out, give each other a little bit more room. Steven Miles, Caden Dieterich there to assist the 25 as they work on to the super stretch. They are now 3 wide for the lead here at Daytona. They'll shuffle it back down to 2. Rajah Caruth on the bottom, no help yet. Harper trying to get tandem back up with a 71, but you almost wonder, Matt, as much pushing as we just saw him doing, is he maybe out of temps now to push with? Well, if he was, he isn't anymore, because he is now going to try to get right back up to the 71. I take that back. You saw that little burp out of the throttle right there. Kevin Freeze is ready to push that 4-car right back up. But
hard in the wall on the top shelf of the racetrack. Sorry to cut you off there, Austin. I believe that was at the 97.
Oh, what there? They're not going to hold it. Oh, there they go. This is going to be the big one. Multiple cars back up into the outside wall. The 77 back down. The 55's in it. That's Garrison Hogan. The 60 of Jeff Merck. Nowhere to go at the last second. And again, another incident where, boy, it sure looked like it was the big one. We'll call that one the medium one, though. That collected about 4 or 5 cars. But again, another one where just maybe a little too much aggression. It's kind of hard to say on this one because they really started to fan out. They got 3 and 4 wide here. Right as you called it, Matt, it looked like the 60 of Merck actually gets up into the wall. And then it's on from there. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, Merck, some slight contact into the wall right as Trevor Oswald's trying to get up behind him. That's going to stack him up. Trevor has no choice now but to really kind of force the issue and go 4 wide. The 55 of Hogan's checking up. Unfortunately, Carl Bond not quite able to do the same in time. And then kind of in unison, the 55 and the 89 are going to get turned. One gets turned by Tinsley, the other by Carl Bond. And then as they start to slide here, the wreck's on from there, and they just start getting collected all over the place. And it seems like Matt Metler currently working out a couple of audio issues, so we'll give him a minute here. As he does so, though, we continue to look at this wreck, and I mean, really, it's just a kind of a little bit of a stack-up effect, more so kind of that 4 wide being initiated by the stack-up that ultimately leads to the incident. I wouldn't really put this one on anybody doing anything wrong. It's just kind of bad place, bad time for Merck to get into the outside wall, and then you see that secondary contact right there for Jeff Merck and Garrison Hogan. Just kind of a little bit of insult to injury, if you will. And I think Malik Ray gets through this one pretty clean. Let's, in fact, go to his onboard view and see what he sees through all the chaos. And this one here is going to see a big smoke plume. And Malik Ray is going to have to figure out how to do a Houdini act to get through this without any damage.
Yeah, he certainly does here. As all that smoke out there on the racetrack, he takes it all the way down to the grass. And that was a great heads-up decision there. Way to keep himself out of that mayhem up there on the racetrack. But, you know, that, I mean, I'll tell you what, Hogan was having such a great run here this evening. And in the blink of an eye, a fraction of a second, everything just changes here at Daytona. You know, Trevor Osmanoff as well, Jack Shack driver, gets put at the wrong place at the right time. Continue to look at multiple different angles here of this incident. which came out here lap 33 on the racetrack. So just north of the halfway point here. Getting a report here for some of the drivers' audio.
Go ahead, Matt. I was going to say, if it's about the fines, we're getting ready to see if we can pull up race control Matthew Baker, but we'll hold that off. What'd you have to say?
I would say, listening to some of the drivers' audio here, I mean, these guys, their tempers are boiling over. Patience has gone out the window. And the number one takeaway I'm getting is, you know, drivers are getting run over out there on the racetrack. And I'm going to dial it back from what I've heard. Obviously, I have to keep it professional on the broadcast side of things, but it is starting to get hot and heavy down there on the racetrack. Some of these guys, the emotions are, you know, the events of this race are starting to wear their patience thin. And Austin, I think we're only going to see the intensity pick up from here, if that's even possible.
I think it might be, but getting reports from the chat, Heath Job says that Baker is now handing out fines. So let's see if we can pull him up here and see what this is all about. If he's busy, we may not get a chance to get a word, but let's just see here. See if we get him up and figure out what these fines are all about. Hey, Baker, I know you're race controlling. You got a minute for us up here in the booth?
What's up, brother?
Well, we heard from some of the guys in the chat watching that there's fines being handed out. What's the deal? What's going on track right now?
Oh, yeah, not so much fines, but we've got people that'll be sitting out a week via the new rules. We got Landon and Axel on that caution, two cautions before. The last one was more of a racing deal. Like Merck and Mike got into it, got him up in the wall, and then just kind of stacked it up behind. Merck looks like he's out of the race already, so I don't understand. Maybe he had a right front go down, but per the new rules, we're running pretty well for the past couple of weeks. But this race, you know, we're over 5, so it's coming out of the entire purse for everyone. They're losing $42 throughout the top 6, so they need to settle it down here before they lose a little more money.
There you go. All right, Baker, we appreciate the insight. We'll send you back down and see if this thing can get cleaned up a little bit.
Well, that's what we're trying to do here, and you heard from Race Control, new rules, new measures, and no way, you know, no better way to get a driver's attention than starting to bleed money from their potential winnings, taking money out of their pockets. Perhaps that'll settle things down there on the racetrack. But Austin, you already heard some of these guys going to have to sit out a week at minimum.
Yeah, and I do want to kind of clear it up for everybody watching too tonight. The way this fine works, you might be thinking, well, that's no fair if somebody's just taking out money to keep it. No, it's not how that works. There's a PGR eSports fund, and that fund goes to all sorts of things. Prize payouts for these guys, helps pay for race control fees, broadcast fees, and a big part of it, at least right now, is funding that's going towards the PGR 500. So that money that's getting taken out, it's not just going into a void, it's not going directly into someone's pockets, it's going into a fund that will be available for these guys later throughout different prize payouts. But again, as you mentioned, they won't get it here tonight, and so it is kind of punishment in the moment, but a good way to still keep it fair by saving it for down the road. We'll see, though, if they can clean it up, or if they're going to get a little bit more money taken out. Either way, payouts are still through the roof here tonight. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. 23 laps to go. Bit of a checkup further back. And I'll tell you what the other question becomes now, Matt, is fuel mileage. 22 laps is pretty close. 55% fuel. They may be able to make this. We're going to have to see.
I think they can make it from here, and especially if there's another yellow flag that decides to show its ugly face here, they certainly can go the distance here. How about Nick in the 75 ride, up 20 positions from where he started? You know, Austin, you mentioned it earlier, almost took a bad push there from the 71 as he gets that dark horse righted. They got some serious steam on the high side. The 71's going to split him now and leave him hung out to dry here as we are now 3 wide for the lead. Is the 25 comes up, gives the 71 a Project Crew with a big-time shot there. And that Mustang that was leading moments ago now gets shuffled all the way up to that 4th lane. They have another lane now, Austin, rocking the top of the fishbowl. And don't look now, that number 3 Chevrolet on the bottom. He is lurking as he is just inches away, working off of that 48 machine who is now stuck in the middle.
Yeah, it was a tough break for Seipel last lap, but you can almost see it coming. Rajah pushing him down the backstretch. Seipel just didn't look all that stable. Rajah felt like he didn't want to keep pushing him, so he dropped low, was able to get a couple takers, and now leads the way here down the super stretch at Daytona. A couple of other drivers, Chase Mastretta most notably, considering peeking out, but they don't do so. They're going to stay in line for now as the 48 of Falkingham tandemed up with Kevin Freeze. On the bottom, it's Matthew Patton and Kenny Reel. And the field still 3x3. Oh, man, Patton with a big wiggle. That's going to stack them up out back. Can they all hold on to it?
Rich Melton got it. One to the teased around backwards.
Caution back out. And that one.
The words of Darrell Waltrip. Sorry to cut you off there, Austin. Cautions, 3 cautions. Chris Melton involved there once again. My God, some of these drivers just cannot stay out of the mayhem of the racetrack. You know, Chris has been involved in a couple of them. That incident right there going to administer the most damage to his car as we go back to the PGR instant replay. There's Hennings there.
And watch where it all starts, too.
Play this back and let the tape speak for itself.
It's all going to be right back where this checkup starts, and I'm trying to get you a little bit of a better angle to kind of show you what that checkup looks like. All right, so I know it's a little tough to see here, but kind of work with me. We're going to go first here up top where Matthew Patton is, and that's where this checkup starts. He's getting pushed by Kenny Reel, and he's going to get a little offset right here. Watch as Reel gets him a little offset. Reel gets a little bit below the apron. Patton gets up the track. Now when he goes to push him again, it's going to get that 3-car turned down. That's what's going to spark the checkup. Now that they've started checking up, it's going to start to translate further back, and as it gets further back, the checkups get bigger and bigger until eventually it gets back here to right around Brian Hennings and Evan Carlbon. Those two are going to make contact, and eventually here, Carlbon, when he gets into the right rear of Brian Hennings, it's going to send him up the track into the 49 of Melton, who had nowhere to go, nothing he could do, and boy, that's a rough run for R&R as they get 2 of their cars collected in an incident that they didn't even start, almost 3. Dalton Steele able to just miss it, but then Axel Smith nowhere to go as well, and another 3-car incident brings out the caution yet again here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, 2 or 3 drivers there, I mean, absolutely had nothing to do with it. They're just, you know, these drivers here, you can clearly see they're just trying to stay out of harm's way, right in the back, trying to stay out of the chaos. And unfortunately, it finds them like a heat-seeking missile here as that checkup intensifies all the way to the back as we go on board. 0 time to react. The next thing you know, he's around backwards, you know, self-inflicted concrete poisoning here. As you mentioned, those roughneck drivers just getting the worst of it.
Give you a bit of a different angle here for Melton. And again, you can actually see the checkup when we play at full speed here. Watch how quickly that checkup gets translated backwards. I mean, in the matter of, I don't know, a couple hundred yards, and wrecks on from there. And for Melton right here, gets that first big hit and gets a second shot right there. Does a little bit more damage to Axel Smith. You wonder if that broke any of his suspension components. Melton, it certainly did, as you saw that car crab walking a little bit. 97, I think, might be a little bit as well, so that may retire 2 more cars out of the race here tonight. What has already been, again, a very, very wreck-filled race so far tonight, as now we see pit stops underway, wrap it up, as a matter of fact. And a bit of a split decision here. Some drivers staying out, Matt, that maybe feel like they can make it by just saving under these cautions, versus another group that went in just to be safe now, and probably, and I think this is the strategy I might have went with, expecting that we're going to have a few overtimes and making sure that they have enough fuel to go the distance for those as well.
Split decisions out there right now. I think, you know, either way you slice it, both good decisions. It just depends how the trends of these trends of the race go here in the later stages of this race. You know, Kevin Freeze, Michael Triscaro, you know, going to restart here, first and second position, both up 24 positions here. So, and these guys both have cars that I think have done a good job at staying out of all of the incidents on the racetrack. Still look pretty clean out there, going to have good speed in those race cars. They're obviously going to be, you know, at a fuel deficit if this should go into multiple overtimes, as you suggested, Austin, which, hey, it very well could. We've seen it time and time again. The other side of the coin, the other drivers want to take that out of the equation, just down pit road, topped off the fuel cell. They should be good till the end, and multiple green-white checkered attempts should we need to utilize it to get this race in under green flag conditions. Those lights still on that iRacing.com pace car. However, they should be going out this time by at the line.
And always fun to go on the cockpit views in situations like this, because you can see just how hard they're trying to save fuel. For Dieterich and pretty much everybody else around him right there, rolling on the apron with the engine off and the clutch pushed in just to coast as much as possible, save as much fuel as you can. And it's kind of a tough choice because, you know, if you want to save more fuel here, then you can't be aggressive. You got to kind of just hang out in the draft. But you know that if you lose track position, it may not matter what your fuel strategy is later if you're too far back to really make any progress. So some business decisions are going to have to be made here. For the guys that are close on fuel, we'll have to see what they decide to go with. Either way, it's going to be interesting as we are now within that final fuel window, especially for anybody that has made a pit stop. How about a shout out to David Sheets from McCullough Motorsports? He's got himself a beautiful run going here tonight. He's managed to miss all the chaos so far for the most part. The driver out of Wake Forest, North Carolina. He is currently up 35 positions from where he started this race at, as we'll go back green with 17 laps to go. And we're starting to slowly but surely get down to crunch time, Matt, so what better time to head over and take a look at what some of these payouts are actually looking like for here tonight. First place, and this was initially before that extra, I believe it was $42 or $46 that Matthew Baker said would be taken out, maybe a little bit more for the extra cautions, and that would be spread out between all these payout positions. So it was $300 to first, $230 to second, $200 to third, $150 to fourth, and $130 to fifth. $55 to the highest finisher with no PGR win that finishes outside the money as well. So a little bit of an extra bonus there to keep fighting, even if you're not necessarily going to finish in the top 5, but either way, big payouts as usual. And so that's always exciting. Is when we go back green here too, the other thing that you got to keep in mind is if these guys up front try to be kind of easy and save fuel, the guys out back aren't going to let that happen. They're going to get right up in the third lane or the middle, wherever they got to go and push the issue and make these guys burn fuel.
Well, I mean, they got to keep it green flag conditions on the racetrack for that to happen. I mean, some of these guys up front, I think their mentality is, hey, if we're 10th on back, it's just a matter of when before our car gets smoked and is ready for the scrapyard. So if we can keep it up front, we're going to stay out of the mayhem and let all the attrition happen behind us. We lose that iRacing.com pace car. We're ready to go back. Green flag racing here at Daytona. Freeze is going to punch it through the floorboards, climb back up the gearbox as we're getting back to the good side of things here at the World Center of Speed.
Certainly good to see the green flag back in the air as we await the field to come roaring through turn 1, looking from the gopher cam, and they are still 2x2. Nobody has jumped out of line just yet, but you can see that the field has shrunk significantly from what it was at the start of this race. As a matter of fact, on track, only about 36, 37 cars at the moment. That's taken out about 5 to 10 cars that started this race at, and you've got a lot more that still have damage that are going to be working on trying to get that fixed. Up front, Oswanoff looking for a move. That's one of the Jack Shack drivers trying to go to the point. Trevor's one of the guys who loves to win when we go to a bit of a special series. Trouble out back. They're going to wreck.
All right, man. Caution is out.
Caution back out. And more trouble as I think the 24 got turned up. Yes, he did. Josh Gambro and more damage. Harper slammed the inside wall. He's got, I mean, man, the left front of that race car is destroyed. I think that's the most damage I've ever seen on the left side of a next gen. Oh my goodness.
I'll tell you what, that car is a reflection of the Dallas Cowboys season. I mean, that sums it up right there. Holy good Lord Jesus, that car is absolutely destroyed.
And so we'll see if we can go back to this. And is this going to be, again, kind of another incident where I think it starts as kind of one ordeal that ultimately unfolds as another. And watch from turn 3. So you've got Chase Mastretta here working behind David Sheets. Is Mastretta going to try to shoot to the middle on Sheets? Yes, he is. Mastretta goes to go for the gap. Sheets maybe trying to close it off, but it almost looked like the 8 maybe bobbled up. We'll have to get another view of that before we confirm. But then once there's contact there, you're going to see Sheets get back into Harper. Sheets goes up the track trying to wheel and deal out of it the best he can. He does. Overall, a pretty good save, but then Harper, look at this. Bam! Tank slapper. The left side of that race car, that Ford Mustang certainly has seen better days. Now watch this again, though. This time we're going to go to the chopper view. As Devin says, Austin Eugene David, yeah, you got that right. I apologize for that one. We were rooting for David up here in the booth, too, tonight. It's a tough break, but watch out here as this should give a good angle here. Does Chase go to the middle and come up, or does David come down? Let's see. So Chase is going to go to the middle. All right, right here. Sheets has his... Sheets is starting to squeeze. And then Mastretta, it's close on if Mastretta gets down into the 4. Maybe a little bit of netco between those two that moves the 8 up, or if Chase just wiggles up a little bit. Either way, and again, Chase is the one that makes contact, but I think, Matt, I'm going to just take a step back from that part and just kind of, ask the question of, I know it's getting kind of late, but we just went back green. I mean, you can't give the guy a little bit of a break here. I guess not, but it's just another one of those incidents where I feel like it's a lot of aggression that kind of leads to the start of a wreck. And when Chase wiggles up just a little bit right there, that's where the contact starts, and it's on from there.
Yeah, that Sheets goes up there, puts on a heck of a job trying to save that race car. The big-time drift at a 45-degree angle there. And unfortunately, I think we're going to have to give him the don't stain your ride, use tide moment of the races. Things were code everything for the driver of that race car. And, the chat's right. We kind of invoked the broadcaster's curse there a little bit. But to your point, we were rooting for him up here. David Sheets not out of it, though. He still has a car, I think, that can go out there and contend. Opportunity to come down pit road, of course, try to patch things up here a little bit. But the cautions just keep on coming. And you mentioned cutting brakes, Austin. I mean, these guys weren't cutting anyone slack on the pace laps before we went green flag racing. I don't know why we thought they would have done it under green flag conditions out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, well, one thing we haven't done, at least not yet, is wrecked under caution. Hopefully we can prevent even that from happening, but certainly is looking closer towards a record night here for PGR in terms of caution count. Last 2 weeks were pretty good overall. In fact, I think it was a couple weeks ago, Matt, when me and you were commentating one of the races. It was one of the best ones that we have seen in a while. And
yes, sir.
I mean, man, overall, it's just been a mess here tonight. But nonetheless, we'll try to keep things going. And right now,
Austin,
we're going to...
Not to cut you off, but, one of the upsides to this could be, could we see a first-time PGR winner? And I think that's, what we need to perhaps, consider and look at. One of the upsides or the silver lining. A lot of drivers up near the front of this that I haven't necessarily seen contending during my time here at PGR, up here in the booth with you. Certainly my pick, Trevor Osbornoff, he's going to be a factor in this race. But, I think from all of these, big-name drivers that have suffered consequences early and during this race, this could open the door for perhaps a first-time winner here in the series.
Could be. Still a lot of big names in it with an opportunity. Caden Dieterich looking for his first win. Ken McCullough Jr. already checked that box off last week. That was a big relief for Ken. Daniel Falkingham, he's got to win. Trevor Osbornoff, he's got to win. Back to fifth. I think maybe the man that everybody's rooting for to be the next driver to get his first win in the series, and that is series owner Michael Trascaro, up 21 spots from where he started this race at right now. And again, a good opportunity, but still really a lot of time, especially when, you figure we've had an average caution of every 5 laps or so, it's felt like, and if that's the case, we may still see 2 or 3 more. But I think if you're at the front here, you stay relatively conservative, but if you're at the back, I mean, I hate to say you got to be even more aggressive, but you have to, because you got to go in with the mindset that we could see, another 3 or 4 cautions here before this race is all said and done. And if that's the case, you really don't get many green flag laps to go out there and try to get to the front the real way.
And I think that's why we're seeing the aggression is just as crazy as it is right now there on the racetrack. These drivers know the more yellow flag laps out there, the less of an opportunity, less time they're going to have to try to get towards the front. And that's why I think they're taking chances. They're making moves and forcing the issue that we typically wouldn't see unless it was 2 or 3 laps to go when all bets are off. Get ready to go back. Green flag racing. There goes the iRacing.com pace car. And here we go back into the Geico restart zone. Chevrolet on Chevrolet going to take them back to green here as Caden Dietrich drops the hammer here once again. And already big-time lane changes there in that 5th place position. Or excuse me, that was Trevor Osbornoff in the 89 ride. He was up 14 positions as we get back up to speed in Austin. Look who is spouting their way to 3rd, Michael Trascaro.
Michael Trascaro up to 3rd. Meanwhile, further back there, shuffling all over the place. Man, Ken McCullough Jr. got left out to dry right there on that restart. It felt like everybody ganged up on him, went low, and then jumped back high in front of him for Trascaro. Good spot in the 3rd position. But you know who's even in a better spot? Caden Dieterich leading the field here on the outside. Kevin Freese, though, going to jump up now in front of that 24. That stacks him up briefly. And here comes Wyatt Tinsley and Rajah Caruth on the bottom. Tinsley involved in an incident earlier. He's made his way back to the front. Rajah Caruth has kept his nose clean so far here tonight, and that's got himself in good position here with 12 laps to go. Everybody good to go on fuel at least to the end of regulation. Now it becomes a question of who can get to the front, and now we start to see the field actually separating a bit here, Matt. It's not quite 2 packs, but certainly a lot of gaps here throughout the entirety of this lead pack. And if it continues this way, we could see some separation before this thing's all said and done.
Yeah, these are the most gaps we've seen over the course of this 60-lap event here tonight, as we're currently 1 lap shy of 10 laps to go, as Wyatt Tinsley currently leads the charge here, working the high side of the racetrack. But Austin, now that bottom lane, they're starting to get formed up, and there you're coming now on the bottom, as they got a big-time head of speed being led by that 71 machine. And in fact, just as I say that, Malik Ray goes too fast, lap of the race.
Oh, man, in big trouble out back. Dylan Jones not quite clear as he jumped up in front of, I believe, it was the 89 of Trevor Osronoff. That sent him into the wall, but it looks like they keep it together this time. Zachary Lima, Steve Korsak, they're going to try to get grouped up in the middle of the racetrack. Couple more moves looking to be made. Triscaro's going to get a big push from Dylan Jones. Outside starting to stack up. Watch out. Looks like they're going to save it again. The 48 of Daniel Falkingham is going to go to the bottom. And man, the 89 of Trevor Osronoff, it has been all over the place in this lead pack for him tonight. Now he's going to have to gear up for a big shot on the back of Kevin Freeze right here, but no, he'll bail low. That sets up Ken McCullough Jr. for the push. And boy, Matt, I'll tell you what, it's such a tough decision if you're in this high lane. You're trying to be patient. The outside generally is faster in these next-gen cars, but you try to time out. When do you go to the bottom? When do you make that move that might put you in the lead coming to the white flag?
You know, right now, all bets are off. Your guess is as good as anyone's right now. A lot of times, you just got to get lucky when you execute and pull the trigger. And with the way these guys are wilding out on the racetrack right now, you can just hope that you survive and be alive at the end of this thing. As we now go on board with Dalton Steele, who is up to that 9th place position. Look at the head of Stevie has coming. He says, screw the bottom, I'm going to the middle. Does he have help to go with him, though? No, he's going to get hung out to dry, and he shoves it right down in front of Osronoff.
Yeah, thought one door opened, it didn't, so he quickly slammed the other, but either way, single digits now, 9 laps to go here at the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. And up top, you still have the 20 machine leading the way. That's Wyatt Tinsley, Wyatt Tinsley, the lead pusher now. It's actually the 48 of Daniel Falkingham leading the way. Kenny Reel on the inside. He's getting pushed by the 71 of Rajah Caruth. And watch out here if you're Michael Triscaro and Stephen Miles. Got to make a decision. Triscaro's going to go high. Steven stays in the middle. Dylan Jones gearing up for another push. Kenny Reel not clear. Is this going to pile up again? It doesn't. They save it. Oh, watch out up back. There they go. They're going to wreck. Caution might come back out. Yes, it does. It's one car. Can everybody else miss him? Yes, they do. That was Dylan Jones, the one car who got involved. And yet again, another not clear moment there that leads to your 9th caution of the night here tonight, and this will set us up now with the restart under 5 laps to go. And the closer we get to the finish, the more anticipation you have about how crazy the restarts are going to be. And just as I thought we were getting some separation, Matt, I thought maybe we would see this thing go green to either the white flag or the last couple laps of this race. We see another incident here to bring out the caution.
I agree with you, Austin, real quick. I thought we were going to go green the rest of the way. However, as you mentioned, not clear. Strikes again here as we go back. Going to set it up to the chopper cam here. Kenny Reel just was not clear. He thought he had enough momentum to bring it up to the high side of the racetrack. Unfortunately, ran out of real estate. And a driver we just talked about moments ago, I feel like we had corked the broadcaster's curse out of Michael Triscaro. Yeah, he got hot and heavy, quick, fast, and in a hurry for him.
I agree, and I wanted to show you here the gearbox view. So what's really interesting about this, and actually I feel like the gearbox view doesn't do that quite as much justice, is, and let's see if we can go to the onboard view actually for Triscaro, see if this makes it any better, worse, or kind of the same as that. So when Reel first makes this move, he's got a pretty fair amount of clearance. I mean, you can see it even from there. Reel is clear. The problem is, again, with these next gens, the runs are so massive that if you're clear, you have to get up so quickly. Otherwise, that gap's going to go away. And you're going to see for Kenny Reel here, he makes the move pretty quickly, but just not quick enough. By the time he finally gets there, he's only about half clear. And Triscaro, of course, not really expecting that. Gets in the back of the 11, sends Kenny Reel into the wall. Those two save it, but then that's going to start stacking them up out back, and it's going to lead to this incident that's going to ultimately collect Dylan Jones. And it looked like that was about it. I think everybody else survives through this one relatively okay, but I mean, even for Dylan Jones here, once he gets turned around, this is going to be some pretty significant damage for Jones that he receives, as Zachary Lima also with nowhere to go. He gets involved. Steve Korsak jumps to the inside, and Matthew Patton, lucky that the 11 gets down just before he arrives on scene, as he was also able to miss any further damage in this one.
the other thing is too, Austin, and this is just my opinion, but this race car here in this next gen, the minute you bail out of line or get away from your dance partner, this car just seems to bleed off a ton of momentum rather quickly, almost like a giant air brake. And to your point, Kenny was clear. He had tons of daylight there to work with, but when he jumps out of line, that combined with the momentum on the high side of the racetrack and just how quick this car seems to dissipate energy, that hole that he had was gone there. And as we look at this further back now, some of the end results, you see Malik Ray there had a big time moment. He's able to get through with minimal damage, but not the case here for that Dark Horse Ford Mustang. Is that driver's side front fender is all mangled up. Looked like he got hit with a cheese grater as he's now on pit road, receiving repairs to his race car. Now it's looking a little bit better.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, even if he's got damage, you might as well get back out on track. Anything can happen with the way that we've seen things going so far here tonight. So again, 9th caution and what has been just a 60-lap race. I'll let you do the math on that. Either way, though, up front, leading the way, Daniel Falkingham, Wyatt Tinsley in 2nd. Caden Dieterich back in 3rd, Rajah Caruth 4th, and Nick Seipel rounding out your top 5. Stephen Miles sits back in the 6th spot, Michael Triscaro 7th, Dalton Steele 8th, Ken McCullough Jr. in 9th, and Trevor Oswernoth rounding out your top 10.
Rounding out your top 10 right now here under caution once again here at Daytona. And, Austin, that has pretty much been the theme, unfortunately, from the drop of the green flag. I'll tell you what, though, under green flag conditions, this race has been high energy. It's had all, everything that you want from a broadcast perspective. These fans at home, I mean, they are getting a show when these guys are laying it down on the racetrack. It's just unfortunate we've had to slow things down so many times due to that dreaded yellow flag this evening as we get ready to take the green flag here once again, as we're currently showing lap 55 on the board. Maybe we can finish this thing out under green flag conditions, Austin. I know that's a big ask, but hey, you gotta hope, you gotta wonder, and you gotta stay locked right here on PGR eSports to find out, as we're gonna do this Friday night last chance qualifier style to see who's gonna be the victor here at Daytona. Daniel Falkingham, Wyatt Tinsley. How about Michael Triscaro, though, continues to be inside the top 10 in that 6th place position. And Austin, don't count out my pick, Trevor Osbornoff from the Jack Shack. He's going to restart here in that 10th place position.
Indeed he is. Don't count him out just yet. You mentioned Friday night feature style racing here, Friday night last chance qualifier rather, and it's almost Friday morning here on the East Coast as we approach 12 o'clock midnight. So we'll see if we can wrap this thing up before that point, but they're going to have to go 4 laps under green here to make this race official, and you just kind of feel like with the way it's gone, that may be a bit of a tough ask, but we'll keep our fingers crossed as let's see what happens. Falkingham and Wyatt Tinsley on the front row, both drivers over 7,000 I rating. Let that sink in for a minute. Then you've got Caden Dieterich along with Rajah Caruth in row 2. Both of those drivers well over $5,000 I rating, 5K. Who's going to take on the big bucks tonight? Let's find out. Green flag back in the air. 5 laps to go at the World Center of Racing, and it's a good restart for the 48 of Daniel Falkingham. Is he going to try to pull Caden Dieterich up the track with him? It looks like he does. The 24 and the 48 slot up in line. They will now lead the pack off into turn 1 as they climb the 30-plus degrees of banking. And as they get up to speed, Matt, that outside really organizing. This is what you see, more typical super speedway style racing in these next-gen cars. Line up on the top and wait to make your move to the last lap. But just as I say that, looks like everybody is starting to make moves on the bottom now. Oh, watch out, trouble. Coruscant goes around further back. Will this draw the caution? Not yet. Is he going to let it roll back up? So he's going to slide to a halt. Comes back on the racetrack, but it keeps it green for now. Wow, boy, that was a pretty cool-looking save as long as there was no traffic in the way for Coruscant. He'll keep it rolling, but we're going to keep it green for now. Either way, man, watch this is up front. A lot of pushing and shoving. Can they keep it green, Matt? 4 laps to go.
Lead, mean, and green. That's what we're hoping for the rest of the way here as these laps continue to wind down at Daytona. Daniel Falkingham continues to carry the torch. Wyatt Tinsley down in that 3rd place position as Michael Triscaro gets used and abused and treated like a redheaded stepchild. Point blank in broad daylight. Is that caution's going to show its ugly face again? I can't believe it.
Triscaro destroyed. Another week where his chances are going to come to an end in a last couple of lap incident. And man, I know he has got to be boiling inside after that. It just seems like no matter what he does right, always gets caught up in an incident. We'll have to go see how this one was sparked, but Truscaro, he's going to be done. He'll take the gloves off. Call it a night. That's a tough break for series owner Michael Truscaro. He's going to come up short yet again. Let's go back and look at this one here. See if we can figure out what exactly causes it. This is going to be coming through the turn. Do they get 4 wide here? It looks like they do. And I saw it starting to develop, Matt, actually, as you were talking here, but they're 3 wide. And is it going to be another situation of Malik Gray going to split Michael Truscaro here? I don't know if that's exactly what starts the wreck. Let's see here. Malik's got to run. Malik's going to try to go to the middle. Truscaro's trying to kind of cover. Truscaro, I think, is trying to make that decision of, is Malik there? If he is, I don't want to, of course, get myself turned. And then at this point, man, it's close. Does Malik wiggle up just a little bit there? You got to watch the tires here. We're going to have to go to the chopper view. All right, so this is going to be your best angle. Watch the left side tires of Michael Truscaro. They are on the seam. They are on that seam, that dark seam, kind of on the top of the racetrack. Malik Gray below it. And watch where everybody stays. Truscaro, left side. Ooh, 75 and Nick Seipel on the bottom there. Did you catch that? 75 comes up the racetrack a little bit. And I think he's actually going to make either slight contact or slight net code. I think maybe even some slight contact there into Malik. And I think that's what gets Malik into Truscaro.
You know, that or all that dirty air right there as well. You know, when you have cars situated, lined up like that on the racetrack, can easily move a car an inch or two. And I think that what we've seen there on the bottom lane, that energy transfers up to Malik, and that ultimately is perhaps what just nudges him ever so slightly into Michael Truscaro there.
Truscaro did everything he could to try to save it, but not quite able to. And then Matthew Patton with a little bit of damage there. I don't think this one collected all that many cars, again, from what it initially looked like it was going to be at least. Watch it again here, though, is 23. Chris Walker is going to take some pretty heavy damage. Matthew Patton with a big hit right there. Alex Hill is going to get tagged in his right front as well. And then you see the 23 Walker sliding down. He gets into Brian Hennings. You hope that didn't break any suspension components right there for Brian Hennings. And obviously hope that maybe he was able to sneak away there relatively unscathed, although anytime we see a hit now on these cars, Matt, you feel like it's always a risk of a suspension component being broken. But for Brian Hennings here, did he save it after that contact? Watching him slide here down the super stretch, and he did. And I don't think the suspension broke, so I think he's okay. And really, obviously, and unfortunately, the big loser in this one, Michael Truscaro, as soon as that right front fell off of that race car, he was done.
Yeah, he immediately just teleported it to the pits, and he puts it on the hauler. But, you know, I'll tell you what, Austin, it's only a matter of time before he gets a win in one of these, and it's moments like this, the pain, the suffering, that's going to make that first win so much better for him. I know he doesn't want to hear that right now, and rightfully so, but as we go back to this instant replay one more time, oh, the 75 there, just, it's a game of inches, right, Austin? And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Yeah, I completely agree, and you know, I agree with what you're saying about Michael Truscaro. Obviously, doesn't want to hear that right now. Down the road, though, I completely agree. The harder it is to get, the sweeter that win feels once you get it. But at the same time, I do think there's a certain point where you're like, yeah, I don't really care anymore about how sweet it feels. I just want to get it. And for Truscaro, it's just not happening right now. So he's gonna have to try again, hopefully next week. And again, the PGR 500 coming up. Boy, what a sweet first win that one would be if you could get the job done over there. But either way now, as we'll set up, looks like it's going to be a 2-lap shootout. I believe this will be this should be not a natural green-white checker, but our first attempt at overtime. Because, yeah, this will, sure enough, going to be our first green-white checkered. So we have 2 more attempts if we need them. But now we just have to complete 1 lap under green flag conditions to make this race official. We'll see if these guys can make it happen. And as we line up, it'll be Daniel Falkingham scored as your leader, Caden Dieterich in second, with Wyatt Tinsley back in third, Rajah Caruth in fourth, and Trevor Oswernoth currently rounding out your top 5. By the way, it may be as a little bit of a surprise, but Rajah Caruth has never won a PGR race before either, so that could be another first-time winner if he gets the job done here tonight. Same for Caden Dieterich, Wyatt Tinsley, and even all the way back to Dalton Steele in the 41, who sits back in 6th.
Yeah, some of these drivers that we really haven't mentioned a lot of tonight, kind of just being silent and methodical out there on the racetrack, staying out of harm's way. and they are right here in it to win it in our first of 3 potential green-white overtimes checkers here at Daytona. And Austin, with the way this race is unraveled, it just makes sense that we're going all the way. We're going into overtime. I mean, that just fits the mold for what we've seen here tonight. Over now showing 60 laps on the board. It's right now the calm before the storm. It's like being in the eye of a Category 5 hurricane. It's calm, not for long. As Falkingham is going to have the button here as we go back to green flag racing as this field works out of the turns 3 and 4 complex.
Time to figure it out. Who's going to get the job done? These front 4, front 6, they're still saving fuel, by the way, even as we get ready to get back to green flag racing. So we'll see if they have enough. Believe they're going to be good to go for this one. After that, though, we'll have to see. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. 2-lap shootout to decide the winner tonight. Green flag back in the air at Daytona. And it's a good restart for the inside. Going to pull 2 cars clear right out of the gate. Dieterich, nothing he could do about it as Tinsley and Falkingham both jump up in front of him. Man, I think if you're these first 5 cars here, just play patience. Don't jump out of line yet. Let the bottom use their stuff up. Save it for the final lap. But Rajah Caruth, he's laying back. Him and Steven Miles are going to have a big run. Let's see if they make the move here down the super stretch.
Do they make the move? No, everyone holds formation, echoing exactly what you said. Now we have one car that moves on a line and one guy going John Deere mode through the grass. Is the green flag going to stay in the air? They get it right on the racetrack. The 23 almost slides up and makes contact, but doesn't. And we are green flag. Just said it. Ooh.
Jared Haynes and Kevin Freeze. Not sure if this was right after the caution was thrown. Man.
Yeah, he's going to need a fresh set of Haynes as well after that one.
I'll tell you what, Matt, you've had some pretty good one-liners here tonight. Some of the people in the chat have appreciated them. That was the first one that really got me. Either way, 3 laps to go. We're going to go back and take a look at this here as we are now at 12:02 a.m. And Matt, I will let you take a look at this here real quick and let me know what you think here in terms of for Jared Haynes. What sparks this one up? Ooh, actually, it looks like it's going to be a bit in front. But we had 2 incidents here, and I don't think it's the first one that actually draws the caution here. I think it's going to be the second incident. Well, let's still go back and watch the first one here nonetheless and see what sparks this. We're going to watch it from the blimp cam here. This should give you a pretty wide shot to figure out exactly what starts it. Is it just a stack up? Ooh, it looks like it is, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. It's just going to stack the deck up there. The 03 is going to get dumped.
That wasn't it.
We've seen...
Kept going here with the 3 of Matthew Patton. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Matt, but we saw, what, 2 or 3 different cars getting turned around here on the backstretch. That didn't bring out the caution, though. And again, we'll give you one more look here from the TV3 of this incident before we go look at the one that actually drew the caution. Is watch some of the cars that get involved here. Let's see. I think it's going to be a total of 3 to go spinning. Brambilla's that one in the middle, the yellow and black machine. And then, or excuse me, the one on the bottom, the last car to go spinning. So you had 3 cars that went spinning in this incident. I don't think that brought out the caution. I think what ends up bringing out the caution is what ends up happening a little bit further up right here, which is Jared Haynes and Kevin Freeze. But, ooh, okay, so that's where it's going to start. Just a couple rows ahead here, actually. Andrew Zotto in the 6 just behind it. And then you see the 25 of Kevin Freeze up here as well. And for Freeze, this is the first incident I believe he's been in tonight. But for Mastretta, this is not. Let's see. I'm trying to find a little bit of a better angle here. All right, so if we back this up, oh, man, this starts... I mean, this is just a mess. We're trying to sit here and figure out where it starts, and it seems like every time we think we've got it, it ends up starting 2 rows ahead of that. So actually, we're going to now try to go back even further here to chase Mastretta, or further up, I should say, where it's going to start. Watch this here.
You know, when this happened live, I didn't even see this as it happened. I was, so many different things happening on the racetrack. Sometimes you just miss things that happen in real time. But here, I mean, just got dumped, ran over.
Man. What's this again here? And oh, what happened there? I think that was when Chase disconnected after the caution. But it's just, I mean, stack up. You mentioned it, and well, lucky that didn't collect a couple more right there. But you see the 48. I believe that was
pull out a. Yep. Sorry to cut you off there. Go ahead, Austin.
I was just going to say that 48. I believe that's still in base in there, taking some pretty significant damage here. And then Kevin Freeze obviously comes along for the ride, nowhere to go, and then Rizonto there, a pretty big hit for him as well. I believe that's the first accident he's been in here tonight. And so this will set up for yet another restart. And then there's Jared Haynes further up. Him and Kevin Freeze kind of with that second tangle there during that second incident. Leading to some more damage. We'll give you one more look at this here from the pit lane gopher cam before we get back live and get ready to set up. It will be our second chance at a green-white checkered. So here we go. You see the rest of the field roaring by. No further incidents up front. So as we go back live, let's line up the field for this second restart here in overtime. It's going to be Daniel Falkingham being scored as your leader. Wyatt Tinsley second. Caden Dieterich in third. With Rajah Caruth back and fourth. Stephen Miles fifth. Malik Gray sixth. Zachary Lima seventh with Dalton Steele in eighth. Alex Hill in ninth. And Evan Carlbon now back inside the top 10. He's had a bit of a roller coaster of a night, but he'll still have an opportunity here with 2 laps to go.
These drivers still going to have an opportunity here with 2 laps to go here as those lights go out on that iRacing.com pace car. So ladies and gentlemen, place your bets. We appreciate you being along with the ride with us, supporting the cause, sounding off there in the YouTube.com live chat. Daniel Falkingham continues to have the goods to get it done here at Daytona. But it all comes down, Austin, to, as you know, that final lap, specifically coming out of that turns 3 and 4 complex. That's where you see all those, break bank moves being made. But Falkingham looks going to try to put one in the bag here. But he's going to have some stiff competition behind him, as you mentioned. You got Wyatt Tinsley there. Then just inside, you're running out, you're at 5th place position, up 10 spots from where he started. Stephen Miles. And then don't look now, you got Malik Ray, who is hungry right there in that 6th place position. Another driver that sticks out, Dalton Steele, and the 41 who currently resides in 8th. And you can never count out Carl Braun, who rounds out the top 10 as we get ready to go back to the good side of things.
Get ready to find out. Almost 60 live viewers. We appreciate everyone tuning in, sticking around, even through all the chaos. If you're new or you're tuning in, make sure that you do leave us a like and a follow if you haven't already. All right, here we go. Time to hopefully decide who will be the winner. The Intimidator Superspeedway Series action here tonight from the World Center of Racing. Remember, 2-lap shootout. We have to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. If not, we will rack them up and try it again. Wyatt Tinsley looking for his first PGR win. Rajah Caruth in the same boat. Falkingham and Dieterich on the inside. Green flag back in the air. 2 laps to go at Daytona, and it's a good restart again for the 48 and the 24. But how about Rajah Caruth right out of the gate? He's going to leave the 20 at Tinsley. He'll pick up the 7 of Malik Ray, and they'll get a couple more takers. Alex Hill, though, going to go to the top. Now they have to go all the way to the bottom. It's just Malik and Rajah tanded up. Meanwhile, on the top, the 48 of Dieterich, the 48 of Falkingham getting pushed by Dieterich. Stephen Miles, he's lined up on the bottom too, side by side down the super stretch. Which lane will have the advantage going into turn 3?
Oh, I love the move by Miles coming down to the bottom. He's going to get a big-time shove here, but will it be too late as Falkingham carries the torch here going through the 3 and 4 complex. Remember, they got to make it to the white flag so we can race back to the checkered flag as we come now through the tri-oval, through the Geico restart zone. Can we make it to the line? And we do. We are racing back to the checkers.
Checkers or wreckers? Who's going to get back to checkered flag first? Oh, man, Falkingham maybe got put into the wall right there. Dieterich makes the dive down low, and this is going to be a block by Dieterich. He's going to have to make one. Is he going to make it on the low side or the high side? Wrecking big time out back. This may come down to 4 or 5 cars. Who sneaks through the wreck? Looks like there's still, oh my goodness, big wreck out back. Still about 10 of them in the fight up front. Caden Dieterich, Wyatt Tinsley. If either driver wins, it'll be their first win. Does Dalton Steele have enough momentum to get back to him? Doesn't look like it. Tinsley's got to make the move. When does he do it? Final time at a turn 4. Tinsley's going to look high. Not yet. Nothing doing. Tinsley's going to stay in line. Caden Dieterich, first career win in PGR, comes at Daytona.
What was I saying about all the cautions? The silver lining can be a first-time winner. Did you hear the PGR eSports? And then boom, shakalaka, it happens as Dieterich gets the big W here at Daytona. Wyatt Tinsley doing all the heavy lifting behind him. He's going to bag himself a second-place finish. And how about the silent assassin, Dalton Steele, coming home with that 3rd and final podium position? What a finish from these guys. Great driving up front.
What a finish. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if they're working together or if Tinsley is just that loyal of a pusher, but boy, Dieterich is going to owe him one back after that because Tinsley stayed extremely loyal right there coming out of 4. Let me tell you something, Matt. In these next-gen cars, if you come out of 4 and it is just you and the guy in front of you and you are tandemed on him, it is the easiest car to make a move for the win, and you just simply jump out of line, grab a side draft, and you're going to get by that guy. Tinsley didn't do it. He stayed in line, stuck to pushing Dieterich. They finished 1-2, and we have got, as you mentioned, another first-time PGR winner here at the World Center of Racing.
You know, Wyatt Tinsley there thinking big picture, and that's going to resonate not only with your winner, as he certainly owes him a favor or a steak dinner, as you mentioned, but other drivers are going to see that as well, and that could come back to pay huge dividends for Wyatt Tinsley in the future. But how about Caden in that ZL1 Chevrolet Camaro as he gets ready to burn the house down? You don't need anything left of those Dr. Feelgoods. Get all of it out of them. Here we go. Light the smoke show here at the start-finish line.
Smoke show, and he earned it tonight. Had to work for it, kept himself in it all night, and now he's going to do a little damage here to the front end of that race car as he continues to celebrate. And as he does so, go back and take a look at your finishing results here tonight, and then we'll go back and actually look at a replay of some of the chaos that unfolded on that final lap. By the way, I could see some people in the chat, RF5935, not too pleased with that chat, doesn't think it was a great finish. Well, you know, it may not have been a photo finish, I agree, but nonetheless, it was still nice to see it end cleanly. At least we didn't have two guys wrecking each other right at the end for it. Nonetheless, though, still got to give Caden Dieterich his credit for a good win there and a dominant performance at the end. Nonetheless, as we get into tonight's finishing order, we'll go ahead and bring up the final race results. That was qualifying. And so here's what it looks like. Caden Dieterich, Wyatt Tinsley, and Dalton Steele, your top 3. Finishing in the rest of the money spots, the last 2 money spots, if you will. And 4th is going to be Rajat Karuth. Malik Ray rounds out that final 5th money position here tonight. Daniel Falkingham back in 6th. Dylan Jones 7th with Nick Seipel in 8th. Kevin Friesen 9th, and Cody Nagels rounding out your top 10. Wyatt Gray finishes back in the 11th spot. Brian Hennings in 12th with Matthew Patton in 13th. Sarah Clamper to 14th. Landon Veliky in 15th. Dylan Basin 16th with Nash Brambilla in 17th. And you've got Nathan Harper back in the 18th spot. And rounding out the top 20 here tonight, it's going to be Jason Maines and Chris Melton. Jared Haynes finishes 21st. Trevor Osmanoff 22nd. Zachary Lima back in 23rd with Josh Gambrone in 24th. David Sheets 25th. Evan Carlbon 26th. Steve Korsek 27th. Alex Hill back in 28th. Stephen Miles 29th. And Kenny Reel rounding out your top 30. James Wagner finishes 31st. Axel Smith 32nd. Andrew Zotto 33rd with Ken McCullough Jr. 34th. Chase Mastretta 35th. Chris Walker 36th. Michael Triscaro 37th. Garrison Hogan back in 38th. Jeff Merck 39th. William H. Scott rounds out the top 40. And then the rest of the field, Larry McDonald 41st. Christopher Carter 42nd. Freddie Bosnes in 43rd. And Connor Cunningham back in 44th. All right. Well, before we go grab your top 3 here for interviews, I do want to go back and take just one quick look at some of the chaos that unfolded on this last lap, Matt, because it was crazy, and it all started with what happened down the backstretch where the field absolutely disintegrated, and this was just everybody fighting for position. Well, was it here? Let's see. We'll go back to the white flag when they first take the white flag, and then, Matt, take me through here. What you saw here is the field works onto the backstretch, and this chaos was, again, a little bit further back. Is it just a case of everybody going for it?
It's everyone going for it. We're into overtime right here. No one's lifting. Those drivers are seeing red right now, got the dials set to kill. And this is just a byproduct of overtime racing right here. It was already eventful, a lot of emotions, a lot of tempers already boiling over. Patience long gone here. And how many times have we seen this not only in the sim world but in real life? And then back up to the front here. And I understand that these guys in the chat, you know, this wasn't some 4 wide, 1 car going backwards, you know, a thousandth of a second margin of victory. But just to see a respectful, clean finish here to kind of get us back on track. And to your point, Tinsley could have easy, you know, give a little razzle-dazzle there and made the pass, you know, or at least challenged for the win. He does the respectable thing. He stays locked there, does the pushing, gets the 24 across the start-finish line, and it was just nice to see a clean, respectful finish in a race that was filled of high-octane chaos from the drop of the green flag. Well, at least in my opinion.
Absolutely. All right, well, with that, we're going to go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stay with us. We'll be right back at Daytona. All right, welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. Going to start first here tonight with your race winner, first-time PGR winner. That is Caden Dieterich. Caden, this is all set up in the booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha, loud and clear.
Well, you grab your first win in the PGR eSports Intimidator Superspeedway Series tonight. So the first question is, how does it feel?
Feels great. I mean, man, I've had the worst luck in these. I think I was involved in all three of the first cautions in this race. All three of the cautions in the race to start. I couldn't catch a break, and then I got hooked up with my friends in Wyatt and Dan, and we did really good there. Got to the front. I hate what happened to Dan. I don't really know what happened there at the end. I still have to take a better look at it, but it was great. It was a lot of cautions, a lot of pacing, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of cautions, a lot of pacing, but then at the end when it mattered most, you executed. I mean, man, these next-gen cars, we know they're going to be the car of the PGR 500. What can you take even from a race where maybe we didn't get to see a ton of green flag racing? What can you take from this and try to use it in that big event coming up in just a month or so?
Top. Get the top. Run the top. Get connected. Make sure you get someone with a good connection working with you, and try to take right rears. If you can get to the right rear, side draft and back, you are always in a good spot.
Absolutely. And one more question here before we let you go, Caden. I know you said you were working together tonight with Caden and Wyatt, or excuse me, with Dan and Wyatt, but either way, when you're coming out of turn 4, was there any thought that maybe the 20 was going to try to make a move on you, and what were you planning to do if he did?
If he did, I was going to block it, but he bought me into this race. So I was going to pay back his entry. So I think he was kind of going to chill behind me. If he was going to make a move, he would have made a move. I'm not sure, but I wasn't going to do anything stupid because he's the reason I'm in the race. He bought me in, so big shout out to him.
Well, you get your entry paid for, and it pays off in a huge way. You get your first win. You'll go down in the stats now, in the historical stats for PGR. You'll take home a lot of money at the same time. So, Caden, before we let you head out here tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
I want to thank Wyatt again for getting me in. I don't have any shout outs, man. Just a fun race. Shout out to everyone who put on the race. You guys in the booth, it's probably great. I'll have to go watch it back. I appreciate all the effort everyone put into this race.
And thank you for talking to us, Caden. Again, congrats on the win, first of many, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
All right.
All right, now that's going to bring us up to your second place finisher here tonight, Wyatt Tinsley. Matt Metler stands by with him.
Wyatt Tinsley, Matt, up in the Tony Trapassa Memorial broadcast booth. You got a copy there, boss?
I'm here. Hello.
Well, hey, man, let me wind the tape back here a little bit. Just after 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, when you strapped into this race car to take the green flag and what I'm calling the Carnival of Carnage, I mean, this race had everything. It had the tempers boiling over. It had the insane moves. It had the smash to pass. How did you pilot or keep that car out of the storm, and how did you come home with a second place finish tonight? Walk me through your race from your perspective this evening.
I don't know. I got one thing I got to apologize to Sean there for blocking him and causing his race to almost be ended. I did a late block, and I thought he was going to list, and I really do apologize for him. But all in all, I kept my race car pretty much clean. Got a little damage, got it fixed. Played good strategy with Caden there. I told Caden to stay out because I knew we'd be good on fuel. Because I was working with Caden because I put money up for Caden there. And I just kind of coached Caden the whole time. We got a track position, and we were able to keep it. And then they just wrecked behind him, and I was not going to pass him for the win. Because I let him win it. It's all good.
Well, Caden already shouted you out multiple times. And let me tell you, from my perspective, in a race that was just filled with all types of adversity, that way that you guys ended that race, the professionalism, just the way that you stuck with him. Because, I mean, it would have been easy for you to just, put a little maneuver on him, just get into that back bumper or just manipulate the air a little bit. But you stuck with him and you pushed him across the start-finish line. Was that the game plan the whole time, or was that just how it played out in overtime?
The whole time, no, because it's these races are really just as much of a lottery, so it's just really hard to really know what would happen at the end until you're within the last couple of laps. So at the start, I just kind of put up his entry so he could race. Just let him have fun. If he would have wrecked, I mean, it wouldn't have been the end of the deal. But I'm glad he was able to stay up there and really learn how to super speedway race like he did. And at the end of it, yeah, I was just gonna push him to the win. I really wanted to push Fox to the win, and then us get a top 3. But all in all, I mean, it still ended up pretty well for me and him. So yeah, I gotta think. I actually do gotta give a big shout out to Kenny though. Kenny Real, he put me in the race, saved my spot. I paid him for my entry fee, and he got me into the race. It actually got me racing tonight when I've been racing, because I completely forget about these races every week. But yeah, I got to give it to him. Working with him all race was pretty good. And I think I thank my chat for watching, everyone, and thank you for broadcasting as well.
Well, certainly. Hopefully you remember him now, especially with the performance that you put up here tonight in prime time. And before I cut you loose, man, who do you want to thank? Who helps you get it done on the 20?
Probably Caden. Caden helped a lot. I mean, we all kind of did a collective there, working together. I probably won't be racing the next race because I caused an incident, but I might be back for the PGR 500.
Well,
Might be. I can think about it.
Well, we certainly hope to see you back out in competition here, especially in the PGR 500. And there he is, ladies and gentlemen, Wyatt Tinsley, the coach on the racetrack, does a perfect job and brings Caden all the way across the start-finish line first. Wyatt Tinsley comes home in a very close second, a thrilling finish, sending it back up top to you, Austin.
Thanks, Matt. And that is going to bring us up now to your final podium finisher of the night for Roughneck Racing. It's Dalton Steele. Dalton, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you bring home a podium finish. Big payout for you here tonight. And, man, you saw a lot of your teammates go through a lot of chaos here tonight. First off, how does it feel to be able to still carry the torch and bring home a podium finish for R&R here tonight?
I felt great. We're all hanging our heads after getting in early wrecks, but luckily we prevailed. Luck was on our side, and I was able to get up into third and not get hooked up in that wreck.
Now, I was going to say, speaking of luck, we look back at that last wreck and all the chaos that was ensuing. What was kind of going through your head as that wreck started to unfold, and what were you thinking there? Did you think maybe if you had a shot to get to those two, you could have made a move? Was there anything you wish you would have done different there coming to the end?
I mean, there's nothing I really could do because when Falkingham wreck came down, he cut my right rear, and I was able to save it, but it lost all my momentum. So I just kind of tried to avoid getting side draft after that, and then I just didn't have enough time to catch him. We would have eventually caught him if it was Talladega, but...
Last question I got for you here, Dalton, before we let you wrap it up is, we know super speedways have a lot of luck involved with all the chaos that goes on, but I mean, to get a podium finish, do you feel like it gives you a little bit of momentum, starts to maybe spark a little bit of fire to go out there and get your first PGR win in the next couple weeks?
Man, I can only hope. It definitely instills some confidence in you, but only time will tell because it's so luck-based, but I can only hope.
Absolutely. Dalton, we appreciate you talking to us. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, Roughneck and Doug Wagner for putting this on and helping us through and building a team and slowly building on success, and hopefully we can get there one day to be the cream of the crop.
Absolutely. And if you guys keep racking together finishes like the one you had here tonight, that day may come a lot sooner than you would expect. All right, well, Dalton, again, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats on the third place finish, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Hopefully.
All right, that's just about going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. But overall, crazy race. You know, Matt, a lot of times you'll hear me at the end of these say what a great race it was. I don't know if I want to quite push the envelope that far here tonight. You know, it happens sometimes. We see races go this way, but I was pleased with the finish that we got. You know, a lot of times we see these crazy photo finishes. Once in a while, it is kind of refreshing to see two guys loyal enough to each other to just stick together right there at the end. And so that was a cool way to see Caden Dieterich get his first win with some help from Wyatt Tinsley. But overall, I mean, a lot of cautions. I think maybe it was just a little bit of an anomaly. I'm hoping we're back to normal next week.
Well, you know, sometimes, I mean, in my time up here in the booth with you, this race could have gone a completely different direction. How many woulda, coulda, shouldas have we seen over the course of these races where you don't go all the way and you don't have the nuclear bomb going off on the racetrack? It felt like every, you know, handful of laps or so. So it easily could have went in that other direction, as these drivers always put on a high-flying, high-octane thriller each and every time they strap in the race cars. But on the other side of that, the storyline here with the winner of this race, and I just had that gut feeling, that that instinct You know, sometimes you're up at the booth, you watch, you have the ability to call these races enough times. You can just feel, you can see what's going to happen. And I knew with the amount of cautions that we had tonight, uncharacteristic amount, of course, we were going to have a first-time winner. I didn't know the storyline was going to be as good as it was with Wyatt Tinsley, you know, basically coaching Caden into this race, and he gets it done, comes home first place. And I think that's the big takeaway, you know, from this race that we witnessed here tonight over these 60 laps, was that first-time winner, you know, out of all the calamity, all the adversity, the big-time wrecks, the emotions boiling over, what we've seen here at the finish, you know, and that's why I love plate racing. If you put a truck here in the infield with a race car on it, you go out there and take the green flag. Anything and everything can happen, and it was great to see the 24 get his first win here tonight in prime time.
Certainly was. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. I will not be here next week, but I believe the broadcast will still be put on. Question is just going to be who the broadcasters are. That will get sorted out. But again, it will still be broadcasted here on PGR Esports. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in and sticking with us even through all the chaos. I hope that you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, alongside Matt Metler on PGR Esports. And until next time, have a good night.